Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff Show. Today, we're going to be talking about comics that are on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, July 13th. We have some amazing books to talk about, and we have an incredible guest. In my opinion, one of the most innovative creators of the modern era who is doing some of the best work in the industry. So you are not going to want to miss today's episode. Stay tuned after this opener. Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you. All right, and today we're talking about comics that are on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, July 13th. Some awesome books that we get to talk about. So I want to remind everyone about the 2 key websites where you're going to find all the books on Final Order Cutoff. If you guys are fans of Marvel, IDW, Dark Horse, Ignition Press, Boom Studios, now Oni Press, Kodansha, Square Enix, and so many others, they're handled by one of the biggest book distributors in the world, Penguin Random House. And you can find all the comics they are offering on FOC each week at prhcomics.com, this wonderful website I have on screen. As you can see, they understand the priority and importance of FOC, so they keep it right here, the first thing on the homepage. Clicking that will bring you to this wonderful version of the website where you can see it all. We always recommend sorting it A to Z. But I'm sure you noticed that I didn't mention a large number of publishers you likely are fans of. Things like DC Comics, Image Comics, Dynamite, and so many others are going to be handled by other distribution services like Lunar Distribution. So we recommend using lunardistribution.com, this wonderful website right here, because it is one of the best distributors and hosts for these things. Not to belittle other great distributors like Universal, they just don't have as great of a website for showing off FOC. So go to lunardistribution.com, scroll down a hair to upcoming FOC, make sure you're on the right date right here, and you can see all of the great offerings from those wonderful publishers and more. Now, with that said, we're going to talk about some of the big highlights and spotlights, but first I want to bring on an incredible guest, a guest I have long desired to talk to because he has some of the most innovative comics in the modern era. Not only doing some epic superhero work, he has done incredible romance, fantasy, sci-fi, and more, and he brings it to you in some of the most easily accessible ways out there. But I'm bringing him on because he is bringing us some amazing books that you can physically hold in your hand, and a comic I have been waiting to talk about a sequel to for over a decade. I offer you the author of Death Vigil, Stephen Cedric.
All right. Hello, everybody.
How are you doing, Stephen?
A little bit exhausted. We just returned from a convention in Berlin and just immediately just jumped into the grind of it all. Just got back into work.
Yeah, I mean, and you seem to never stop working. I mean, how many current comics are you actively working on?
Well, at any given point, I work on three actively, and then there's around four of them on a backlog that I basically switch to once like a volume of something is done. I tend to kind of to avoid burnout and to avoid boredom. I will swap between comics. I will swap between genres. On the side of it all, I'm also finishing up this week my first novel. So it's like I'm just kind of obsessively creative.
And I love it. I mean, but it blows my mind because when you say you're working on multiple comics, you're not simply writing or simply drawing. You do everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a long term obsession. The storytelling in general has been an addiction that started back in high school and really never ended past that point. Ever since I started trying to make my first comics back then, it just kept going and trying again and again and again and again until I got good enough for it to actually stick. And past that point, it was just refinement. It was just, hey, okay, so now I've shown myself that I can do this kind of a topic. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. Let's try something completely different. And turns out, yeah, it's a very enjoyable process, especially when it finds an audience. Then, oh boy.
And I would say that your work has found an incredible audience, and not just in comic shops, but you have a presence all over the internet, from Tumblr to Patreon and then some.
Yeah, it's it's been a bit of a wild journey. It started back from the early days when I was nothing more but a digital creator who wanted to make stuff through like the use of digital programs. At the time, it was Photoshop, and this was one of those things where I live and work from Croatia, so and I lived in a relatively small apartment, so I used to do things traditionally until I literally buried my apartment and then realized, you know what, this is not really working. So I started working digitally, started doing a lot of fan art, started basically, I was there in the earliest days of digital art, kind of developing techniques with my fellow artists. And over time, I started standing out as somebody who could work very fast and visually appealing. So it kind of got me noticed. It kind of got me places. My fan arts exploded over time, and then I got into comics through because of that online presence, and just never stopped ever since. And my work spread literally everywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, I still remember, you in your early days of Top Cow, reaching, pinnacles with things like Witchblade and Artifacts. But perhaps one of my favorite series came out a little over a decade ago, and that was Death Vigil. I mean,
Yeah.
this was the comic that made Taite Kubo's Bleach seem like it was child's play.
Yeah, Death Vigil was something that I've conceived of and like imagined from the get-go. Like it was supposed to have about 50 to 60 issues for the whole story, and so it was gonna be like I really wasn't good at figuring out how many volumes that it was. So I used to talk like it was gonna be like 4 volumes, but generally it's about a 6 volume story, and it's something that's uh, like I've figured out this whole you know this whole backstory to everything, this whole layered multi-character driven saga that was supposed to be this massive epic, except by the time I finished the first arc, unfortunately the numbers weren't there. And when I published it, I was literally a no-name artist, like, because it's one of those things where you know I had a sort of um, traction with the whole concept of, hey, he was the artist on Witchblade for so long, so like everybody knew that I could do art, but you know early reviews always kind of tend to rely on, well, how does his writing compare to the art? And it's like, well, they're not supposed to compare. You don't compare a writer to an artist on any other comic, so why on this? Like it was one of those things where everybody came in with a whole lot of skepticism. But it turns out that the book at the time was among the absolutely highest reviewed books, But again, I was a no-name author, and so it was very hard to get the book into the comic stores. I've had people approach me and saying, trying to order the books, the second issue to comic stores, and basically being told that, their store weren't ordering indie books past issue one. Issue one is basically, the speculator issue. If it becomes big someday, that's the valuable one. And it's one of those things that initially kind of broke my heart about the whole comic making process and the industry in general, which then made me turn with my other books like Sunstone to a graphic novel format. This is actually my first proper return to a single issue format since Switch failed. Like, talk about a book with big ambitions and hard crumbling, That one was supposed to run for 100 issues, and I was going to write and draw all of them. But it only reached issue 4 because it just kind of didn't find a market. Because, that's the thing with comics. There are no certainties. You can be the biggest author in the world. There is no certainty that if you change a thing, if you do a different thing, your audience is going to follow. The audience of Sunstone is not necessarily the audience of Death Vigil or of Switch. The audience of Ravine is not necessarily the audience of Sunstone. So it's kind of one of those things where for every book you have to treat it as your first work and hope for the best. Now, I got lucky through support of my readers and through my Patreon. I was able to, continue production of Death Vigil behind the screens. So basically what happened was I have been working on Death Vigil Volume 2 for the last few years. I have now done, I have one more issue just to make. So basically the first 5 issues of it, and they're all oversized, have already been made. Those are completed. The last one is going to be finished by the time the first issue comes out. So thankfully all the books are going to be out on time. And then we'll see what happens, Hopefully it gains traction. If not, it's going on the shelf again, and maybe we'll see each other in a decade again.
I hope not. I hope we don't have to wait that long, because I'm hoping the viewers of this show are all going to reach out to their comic shop before this Monday and let them know they need Death Vigil issue number 1 of the second volume. And I want to reiterate, if for any reason any of you watching haven't read Death Vigil, it's a huge mistake you need to rectify. And there are 2 great ways you can do that. First off, if you want to read issue number 1 for free, you can literally go to topcow.com and click free comics. Top Cow has been offering this for a long time, where you can read the first issue for free, and you can read Death Vigil number 1 for free. But I would advise going to your local comic shop and ordering the trade paperback. If we want to go back one slide, that trade paperback is the 2025 edition. You can order it now. It has the complete first 8 issues available. And Stepan, would you mind sharing, anybody, if you're not familiar with Death Vigil, would you mind sharing the awesome story that is the first volume?
So Death Vigil is a story about effectively the secret war between Death Knights and the Necromancers, who serve effectively Great Old Ones. These are the Lovecraftian dark gods and these entities that they bestow upon their servants on our side. So these Necromancers are people who are gifted and capable of receiving these summonable monsters, effectively. Death Vigil themselves are an order of Death Knights recruited by the Reaper, a mysterious woman they also call Bernadette or Bernie. She is the wielder of the Scythe, and not much more is known about her, even by her, because her memories kind of fade after a certain point. I wonder if that's a plot point for anything. Anyways, so what happens is, during their combats and during their war against the Necromancers, a girl ends up getting sacrificed by her boyfriend. He does it because he thinks he's going to empower her by implanting this dark god within her. But the ritual gets interrupted. She gets killed, and Sam, the guy on the cover here, ends up defeating this necromancer with the help of Birdie and with the help of some other members. And this girl, Clara, turns out to be gifted, as in she's one of those people who can become a member of the Vigil. And so Bernie recruits her, offers her the chance to be reborn as a member of the Vigil. Because turns out, in order to become a member of the Vigil, you kind of have to die. You kind of have to be lucky enough to have the ability to be ascended by Bernie, and then you are remade effectively into what is effectively a superhuman. It is essentially you are indestructible, you are unkillable by any conventional means, and I mean by any. There are going to be some hilarious moments, but turns out, that's just the starting point to a much greater conspiracy where we learn that the guy who killed this girl, the necromancer, he was basically working for a much greater organization that is trying to assemble this thing called the Dreamers Codex that would enable them to break down the barrier between worlds and completely sacrifice the universe to these dark gods. And that's not a good thing. So this is where our adventure begins. It's a whole lot of action, horror, healthy amount of humor, and a whole lot of intrigue.
I mean, one of the ways I always pitch this, I really feel with all of your work, you managed to have that feeling, that lightning in a bottle that the original MCU had, where it can be handed to absolutely anyone because it has the high action, it has beautiful emotion and relatable characters, and it has that bit of comedy that just makes it that anyone of any genre fan can find enjoyability in this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of taking concepts that on the surface should basically you come in with your guard lowered, expecting something shallow, simple. It's like you Death Vigil. It's just kind of like one of those. It's like something like Bleach or something like what was it? There was another one. Just a second.
Soul Eater?
Thank you. Like those kinds of things. Like, it was just gonna be wall to wall action kind of stuff. It's like, but then you start reading and just very fast you realize, oh, this is going in a different direction. This is something that has a lot of depth in the character writing that that you may not have expected the moment you open the book, because it opens in this kind of like both tragic but also funny moment, right, with Sam being dead and being revived. And same as with Sunstone. Sunstone, you hear what the story is about, and the preconceived notions hit hard. Just, oh, I see what this is gonna be. Then you start reading and like, oh shit, fine print. Oh, it's basically a woman makes a contract with a succubus and an incubus to basically fuck the heartbreak right out of her. Oh, we see what this is gonna be. Opens the book. Oh, we did not expect what this is gonna be. you know So it's kind of one of my kind of big joys, is just to take something that on the surface looks simple and then make it very complicated.
Absolutely. So now let's dive into it. Death Vigil, Volume 2. You're back. And I want to reiterate again, like I'm just going to be doing this. This is great for everyone. I challenge everyone who is watching, go to topcow.com, read that free first issue. There is no way you're not going to be addicted to this. But let's talk the new volume, Death Vigil Volume 2. What's happening here? Samuel Lewis is back.
Yep. Volume 2, well, after we finished Volume 1 with the spectacular battle against effectively a great old one called Torn, the person who summoned it, who was tricked into summoning it, was believed dead. This necromancer Maria, who, everybody thought, she was done with. Turns out she wasn't. She was rescued by a third party now in the whole conflict. And turns out these people are trying to fight the original necromancers, but they are also not very big fans of the Vigil. So with this new force on the rise, we find out also that there was another group of necromancers that used to operate under Catholic Church. And they are now making their rise because these heretics later declared, have kind of decided they are bowing down now to a different god Because turns out there was more than one elder god brought through the rifts, and now this is where it gets really messy. Because all of a sudden we're dealing with multiple elder gods, and Sam, along with the rest of the Vigil, is going to find himself at a crossroads of a spectacular war. That means spectacular, and well, I'm trying not to spoil stuff, so it's one of those things. But this page right here shows that Clara, the girl who got resurrected in the first one and joined the Vigil, she wasn't really resurrected all proper. Things didn't go well. Her boyfriend did try to bind an elder god to it, and it was believed that he failed. Turns out that that belief may have been false, and this is the volume where things get really messy.
Absolutely excited, and then it
also explores some of the past of the characters and sheds light on the history between Bernie and Heinrich and his daughter Mia, who within herself will end up carrying one of these elder gods and being basically a channeler for it, and she is they become allies of the Vigil. But oh boy, this also gets complicated.
And I assume we're going to get some new characters in this volume as well?
Oh, yes. There's a bunch of them. Some of them have been shown in the previous volume in brief flashbacks from Heinrich when he talks about the Seraphim Order and these priests who basically believed that inscribing these tattoos upon them and opening these eyes upon all of their bodies made them vessels of God. And, they are like angels from old description that were covered in eyes, so... Turns out they are back, and they're going to make things very complicated. On the other hand, there's these guys here, the ones in the red, the Court of Red. They are the first necromancers ever. They are the ones who started the whole mess, and now they're trying to fix it.
Oh man! All right, so issue number 1 of Death Vigil hits August 5th. I cannot wait. And then you have issue number 2 hitting FOC shortly after that, August 17th, with the September 9th release. Sounds like this is going to be a 5-issue volume?
6.
6 issues. Awesome. Okay. So
or 7. I honestly don't even remember anymore. They are all oversized, so I forgot how I split them. But yeah, it's... altogether, there's about 200 pages of book for the volume, so it's gonna be as thick, if not thicker, as the first one. And the first one was a chunky boy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good-sized 8 issues.
Yeah.
All right, but that's not the only thing that you have coming out and that you're working on, obviously. One of the really popular ones that's gaining even bigger attention. I mean, I've talked to Matt over at Top Cow, and he has constantly told me that Sunstone is the highest selling thing Top Cow has ever really done. So can we talk a little bit about oh man, I'm completely out of order on this. I need to jump. There we go. Sunstone. This is not only a great book that leads you down the idea that it's going to be one path, that it is going to be this kinky, mature comic, but it is perhaps one of the greatest romantic comedies I have ever read in my life.
Yeah, Sunstone is basically my magnum opus. It's a 20-volume series that I fully committed to and will go the distance to finish it. It's a story about lives and both romantic lives, sexual lives, and just general lives of this group of kinksters, these BDSM practitioners, where I basically demystify the concepts of the kink and just kind of I tell these romance stories about relationships, about all the mess, all the mistakes they made, and how they learn and go through life one mistake at a time until they get it right to a degree. And it's about personal growth as as people, and learning how to have a relationship that actually lasts. And it's just a whole bunch of mature books in which sexuality is treated not as matured content but in a mature way. as in I don't flinch away from it, I don't giggle at it. Sexuality isn't the punchline, it is an aspect of a relationship. So as such, it is treated very seriously, even when it's funny, because my God, when you're dealing with BDSM, which is basically a sexual equivalent of LARPing, you get so much hilarity. It opens itself up to so much humor, and it's a pure joy. It's one of those books where people, once they start reading it, like they may enter, like I said, with preconceived notions, but once they start reading it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you mean this is good, you know and it has been very widely, very positively received. So I mean, the thing has been translated in so many languages. I've at some point lost the ability to receive comps from publishers because I ran out of shelf space completely. Everything was boxes and boxes of samples. It's just like, I think it was like, at some point Matt said there was like published in around 70 countries, which is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Recently, when we were in Berlin, now they just republished the whole thing in these massive, large hardcovers, and I had to get me some because it was insane. But then again, Panini also published fine print in those hardcovers, and my God, they look good.
Oh man. Well, and I mean, it's had a number of versions here in the United States, actually, where I think the majority of our viewers are. I mean, from the hardcovers I have up here to the traditional trade paperbacks, which they originally saw a release
Yep,
of stateside,
yep.
to now there's a brand new format that started earlier this year. What the compact format that I believe you've lovingly called Small Stone?
Yes, Small Stone. It's so fucking good. Like ever since whenever they send me these comps, I'm just staring at them because of the little gloss separation from matte on these covers. I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, like, I can barely read them because my eyes are just completely wrecked. I'm too old for them, for these kinds of small comics, but it just turned out so well.
And they're an amazing way that it's bringing new life to this already incredible series.
Yeah.
So the first of the small print compact editions, I want to say, came out in February of this
Yep.
year, and we're already with Volume 4 just FOC'd last week and releases a week after Death Vigil on August 12th. And you guys are not slowing down. I mean, as you can see, we have a lot of the covers that we've just flipped through here.
And yeah, early next year, we're publishing Volume 9 finally. So the problem is these books started growing as they kept continuing. The initial Sunstone had 98 pages of comic. Currently, we're breaking through 200 pages per book. It's actually ridiculous. So at this point, like Volume 9 is going to be coming early next year, and then one more volume, and then I'm halfway done.
So the quick pitch for anybody who for some reason has not started Sunstone, what would you say is the story of Sunstone?
The story of Sunstone is about people finding the courage to both embrace their sexuality and their emotions. To be honest with themselves, basically, it's a story of characters growing comfortable with each other in both those aspects. Some of it is because Sunstone is a story about multiple characters and multiple couples. It's separated in major arcs. So we have the first arc that's just Sunstone. Second arc, that's Sunstone Mercy. Sunstone Mercy deals with stories about some of the characters from the original arc and their past. So we go back into during their college age, and we get a close insight into these experimentations that they were doing and these silly adventures that they got themselves into and these relationships that they were building. And then after that, it continues until it reaches the timeline of the original arc, and then expands on that and continues upon that. Then the third arc is going to be Jasper, which is going to focus around another couple, and then the final volume is going to be basically basically focusing on the marriage of two of the characters, and effectively kind of rounding off everything and kind of giving us a where are they now kind of a situation. So it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. I love Sunstone. So the last major volume we had physically in comic shops was Volume 8. It released May 2024. You can still order it with all the other volumes, full size hardcover.
We keep them in print because they just keep going.
Yeah. But this is big news. This is the first I've got to hear it. Volume 9 will be in 2027.
Yes.
There we go.
It's gonna be finished this year, but due to the fact how the whole process of soliciting goes, it takes a while between the point where it's done and it gets properly placed and dated to when. So that's a little standard publishing stuff. But beyond that, yeah, volume 9 of that is going to be out, and then also probably Queen and the Woodbourne 1 is going to be out next year.
Awesome. Now, before I get to the last big one I want to talk to you about, another one that is still available. If for any reason you are a huge fan of Mr. Cedric and you want to read more, Ravine is, I think, a book that often gets under-talked about. The volume of this, the complete volume that collects everything, instead of 2, it's 1 binding, is available through Lunar Distribution. Your comic shop, if it doesn't already have it on the shelf, can order it through Lunar right now. But the big one I got to talk to you about right now to wrap everything up is fine print.
Yeah, fine print is one of those things that started off as an absurd idea and turned into something that I still can't believe what it's grown into. Because like fine print, it's one of like the first concept started as a joke. Like it was a tweet that I made as a joke a long time ago, where I was like, "Hey, you know what'd be funny? If an asexual girl made a contract with an incubus and he just couldn't really work with that at all." It's just like they were trying. It's like none of them. It's just like, yeah, it's not doing anything. So they became friends. They became roommates. That was the joke, right? I'm like, that would be like kind of a silly concept. And then the second joke after that happened, or where I was like continuing, where like, or what if a girl goes to like this bookstore, gets this book, and turns out it has a contract for the greatest incarnate of desire, and turns out it's a contested position, and then a succubus and an incubus appear at the same time, and now they have to compete who's better. Silly concepts, right? But then again, most of this stuff starts off as silly concepts. Death Vigil started with me just kind of drawing this picture of Sam pulling his freaking ship full of Draugr, right? The undead Vikings. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of a Death Knight in the modern age, right? No more than that. There was no lore. There was no deeper concept behind it, right? Same as with Fine Print. Fine Print started at these 2 combined jokes. But then they prompted me to ask the question, okay, but if I was to do a story about succubi, incubi, how would I define them? And it is at that point that the fucking just the ground opened, and like the thing gained so much depth, and I was like, oh boy, we're gonna need a lot of rope to get down this one, because the concept all of a sudden became that the succubi and incubi are effectively parallel to cupids, and they are all descendants of the Greek god of love and desire, Eros, who upon losing his one true love, Psyche, effectively gave up on life, released the divine energies that comprised him. But since these are powerful life energies, they would not just disperse, so they reconstituted into these lesser gods of love and desire. And now they are at each other's throats, constantly trying to basically make these contracts with humanity, where each side thinks that the other side is a detriment to their cause. And among all of that, there's all these other pantheons of these gods, right? And there's this whole universe of gods. And then there are these humans who make an absolute mess of it that might end up leading us into an absolute apocalypse. It's going to be fantastic.
It is honestly amazing. I mean, with all of your books, it's just every page just pulls me in with these unbelievable emotions, relatable characters. I mean, visually, you are incomparable in your face. Actually, there's only one person I compare you to with your facial expressions and all that, and that's your wife, who is an equally talented artist.
Yeah, she slaps at that. her new volume of Bloodstein is, man, it has me in tears laughing whenever I see the panels, whenever I see the expressiveness. It's just, oh my God.
Yeah, I just saw that uploaded last night and I got ecstatic. But so fine print. It is the tale of a woman who is stuck between a succubus and an incubus.
Yeah,
And
well,
so much
technically, it's a tale of a woman who's trying to resolve her severe depression inducing heartache that's caused from, well, basically heartbreak, that she kind of caused. And that's the worst part, is when you know you're the one to blame, and like can't really fix it in any other way, and the pain is destroying you. And somehow she stumbles into the succubus, who's basically, her duty is to be the paralegal, to make the contracts with humans, and then combine them, send towards them these succubi and incubi who are going to get the job done. Because the idea is that if you do this thing, if you fulfill this contract with a succubus or an incubus, they are going to effectively numb your heart out completely, because they are going to damage your ability to feel love, so you just won't care. And to Lauren, that sounded like a fantastic idea until it wasn't. So, in order to understand just how badly this goes, the story starts with Lauren is dead. And the story starts. The protagonist dies. So, anyways, and I don't mean like, I bet you're wondering how this. No, she's dead. Like, she's actually dead. She's in the underworld. And now she has to process what the fuck happened, and there's a lot to process.
Absolutely. All right. Fine print, volume 3, just released back in April of this year. Unbelievable third volume. Do we have any idea when we might see a fourth volume in stores?
Well, the fourth volume's production starts as soon as Death Vigil 2 is completed. So basically within a month and a half. And then that one's gonna be, depending on how fast I can produce it, because it's just basically a matter of how many pages it's gonna be. Because Fine Print 3 just broke 220. So it depends. If I'm sane, late next year. If I'm not sane, 2028.
All right. Well, hopefully you stay sane for a long time, because between you and your wife, you guys are producing some of the best and most innovative comics
Thank you.
in comic shops, on the internet, etc. So I want to take a moment for anybody who is trying to track down more or just can't wait. I mean, this is obviously a show where our objective is to get you all to reach out and order from your local comic shop. But if you're just chomping at the bit, where can people find you online to discover more about Fine Print, Sunstone, Death Vigil, and more?
I mean, I'm generally on most social media, but like, if you really are just interested in just getting in on a lot of comics, and you don't mind reading them digitally, just go to my Patreon. I promise you, it's worth the cost, because that's where I produce my comics, and that's where all of my comics are available to read, all of them in full.
So where do people find you, and what is your handle on social media and Patreon?
Oh, just my name, effectively, on everything.
All
I
right.
used to go with different kind of like little names and everything, but like at the end of the day, it just made everything confusing. So I decided to make it very simple by using my very simple to pronounce and very simple to remember name that nobody has any problems with. It's great.
All right. This is where Kyle needs to come in, because Kyle's had a question for you for a while.
Well,
Here we go.
so believe it or not, here on the EXP, this has been a hotly debated topic. Stepan, can you give us an official pronunciation guide on how to say Stepan Sejic?
All right, here it is. Here's the name that you're going to hear. You're going to tell yourself, I finally know, and then you're going to forget about it, just like people who have known me for 20 years do. The way you pronounce my name is Stepan Sejic. Yeah, you didn't expect Balkan names. It's a whole mess. It's just never going to happen. At some point, I'm going to enter a Comic-Con and say, free sketch for anybody who pronounces my name right, and I will never draw a free sketch in my life there. It's going to be fantastic.
20 years I've got it wrong. I knew this was going to happen, Kyle. 20 years I've been getting it wrong.
Time to rewind the stream and practice. Yeah, that's Linda's in the background.
What did Linda say?
She's like, time to rewind the stream and practice. Yeah, it really is one of those names. I often make jokes that my name is in the Necronomicon, so you probably shouldn't pronounce it because it's just nothing good comes from that.
But you all heard it here. Now you can go back and watch this years after years, and he does that.
Exactly, totally, and you're gonna remember it, just like everybody I've known for decades in America has remembered it properly, and they don't make a mess of it at all.
All right. I want so badly to just correct myself right now, and I'm like, if it comes out of my lips, it's going to be wrong.
Well, and this is what's hysterical is that I think I've heard Matt Hawkins say it wrong. I think I've heard a lot of people who have worked with you over the years.
My favorite was Ron Mars at some point when we were working, which was very confidently going to a stream and going like, I know I've learned it from him and this is how it is, and just mispronounces it horribly. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Caddy has, mispronounced it to me. Matt has. Like, now I'm just like, now everything I know.
That kind of a name. Like, it's the Slavic names. They're just a bunch of really angry consonants just fighting each other. It's just don't worry about it. This is why I keep telling people, just call me Steven.
That just derailed the whole show,
as it always does.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I cannot express my excitement for the return of Death Vigil. Only 12 years later. Please, everyone, go out to your local comic shop. Your comic shop should have these items on their shelves, but if they don't, get these orders in for Sunstone, Fine Print, Death Vigil. Follow Mr. Sage on Patreon. Tumblr, he's one of my favorite things, still actively on Tumblr. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that this Death Vigil volume outsells everything, so we get every single volume after.
Listen, I hope at least it sells enough so that it stands on its own two legs and doesn't have to be carried around by Sunstone and Fine Print like it was Cleopatra on like one of those carrying things. Because god damn it.
All right, so get your FOCs in. Call up, get to your local comic shop immediately. It FOCs Monday, July 13th, drops in stores August 5th. You don't want to miss out, and make sure you get the orders in for issue number 2 as well. The FOCs August 17th, because you don't want this to be Death Vigil Volume 1, number 2. You need all of the copies. Like, I have a pile spread throughout the store. All of this copies. Death Vigil. You don't want to miss it out.
Exactly. You don't want this to go like issue 1, because issue 1 ended with a nice rounded off ending. Issue 2 ends with Empire Strikes Back ending. Make of that what you will.
Better than Empire Strikes Back, also.
Well, we shall see.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot of other books we got to talk about on FOC, so hopefully we can see you again in the future with more releases. All right. You have a nice one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. All right. So, I mean, I could have talked to Mr. Sage for easily like 5 or 6 more hours, but we got a lot of books we got to talk about, don't we, Kyle?
Well, we do. And ironically, it's a light week. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's not as many books as sometimes. So it's going to be a fun week for sure.
All right. Well, let's start it off as we often do at Penguin Random House, prhcomics.com. Remember, you click on the FOC and you get this wonderful section. And right off the bat, I got to talk about the return of a chaotic character over at Adventure Time. Yes, not only are we going to get characters like Magic Man and others, but Golb is back. And look at this beautiful cover, and interior artwork is going to be by this cover artist, John P. Golden. I am beyond excited. This is what I want to show, this wonderful gold right there. This is going to be a haunting return. I've been loving this new Boom Adventure Time series, but this is the issue. This is the issue that's going to dive me back in. Then, for big Marvel fans, if you like certain arachnids, it doesn't get better than The Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man is the first Marvel book to finally hit 1,000 appropriately. They're not Deadpooling this. We're going to hit 1,000 after 1,000 proper issues on a single title. Sure, it's had multiple volumes, but there we go. And this is going to be quite the list of creators. Not only is Joe Kelly and Noah Hawley on it, Pepe Larraz and Patrick Leeson, you're going to get a story combining two of the most unfathomable creators to combine imaginable. Frank Miller and Peach Momoko. That's just insanity. There are 29 covers on this insane anniversary issue. Make sure you look at them all. There's a lot to choose from. Let your comic shop know which one it is that you want, because this is just crazy, including the BS controversy over the main cover right here that John Romita Jr. did, that I want to key out was never actually canceled or brought back. It was just always there. And welcome to how the errors work with distributors retailers get to deal with on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about Frank Miller's career, the kind of people he wants to work with these days are Peach Momoko. When you think about, the way publishers handle comics, the way they want to do it today is the most complicated way possible. So this book is the epitome of what makes Marvel Marvel and what makes comic book retailing. By the way, for my money, the Marcos Martin variant is beautiful. Mainly just because I like typography. Anyway, but there's so many cool covers on this, and for ASM to get to 1,000 legitimately is super, super worth noting, and it's a real boon for Marvel. There's also the meme cover that's worth noting as well. They're calling it the animation cell, but we all know it's the meme. So make sure you check that one out too. But yeah, this is as big of a 1,000 since I think Action Comics 1,000. Like even Detective 1,000 wasn't this big of a deal.
I would 100% agree with you on that. I mean, in 29 covers, and that's not including store exclusives and the like. How many covers do you think you're going to get, Kyle? Because I would love to say one, but I know that's not a reality.
I have not made a decision, but I will say that there is no incentive that I probably won't own.
I mean, I got to say, the return of a Steve Ditko cover, obviously I'm in, and then a reference to Steve Ditko by Alex Ross. I got to go with that.
If there's one I'm going to skip, it is and we'll talk about this more later. It is the Peach Momoko Frank Miller one, just because it capitalizes on several of my phobias. Or if I can get it in one of those I can get one of those black bags that you like a black bag and boards. You don't have to look at it. Yeah, then I'll buy it.
I'll tell you, that's a combo right there. Frank Miller and Peach Momoko. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It creeps me out. But we'll talk about that more later. Hint, hint. All right. Featuring another part of Peter Parker's life, two incredible women on one amazing cover, Black Cat number 13. Now, Felicia is not hanging out with Mary Jane in the interior pages. She's actually hanging out with another Spider-Man character, Frank Castle, a.k.a. Punisher still. I mean, if you didn't grab Black Cat number 12, which hit this past Wednesday, you were missing out. G. Willow Wilson is just throwing it all onto the panels. But this Mary Jane month for Mary Jane's 60th anniversary is getting some really cool themes, and this Kevin Wada cover with the two. This is literally the Met Gala of Black Cat covers, if you ask me. I love it.
All right, hear me out, Marvel. Punisher, Black Cat, Punisher, Noir. Whole books in black and white.
I'm in. Yeah. Some great covers on Black Cat, issue number 13. Unlucky 13 for a Black Cat. And this isn't the only time we're going to be talking about an unlucky Black Cat on today's show. But before we dive into more of that, I want to talk about an interesting novel. Now, there are a large number of Star Wars Legends prose novels, meaning they're just text, that are going to be on FOC this week. But this is one that I think is often overlooked. Even though it's part of the Legends line, Cloak of Deception gives us a large amount of content that better expands the story of Phantom Menace and the political control that Darth Sidious, aka Senator Palpatine at the time, started putting forth to make his way to Supreme Chancellor and eventually Emperor Palpatine. James Luceno did this back in 2001, I want to say. It was right before, it was actually one of the first books to give us a hint of Attack of the Clones before the movie dropped. But this takes place before Phantom Menace and deals with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan unraveling an assassination plot against the Supreme Chancellor Valorum, and this early hint of what would happen on Naboo in Phantom Menace. So many times Star Wars novels and Star Wars comics pick up the failings of the films. The moments where the films drop the ball and don't give us enough story or context. But it adds even more in the modern era when we are talking about politics that deal with trade, tariffs, and concepts like that, warfare, maybe straits that are getting blocked, without becoming any, really political thing that truly is relevant. It shows the power of where George Lucas and Star Wars was with story content 25 years ago. So a great novel to pick up in its new form. If you don't already own Cloak of Deception, this is a wonderful one that I wish was canon. I really wish was.
Well, and for so long, we've had to rely on Weird Al to explain, the beginning of that, explain the Phantom Menace, because no one else was doing a good job of it. And these Star Wars Legends books kind of give you the backstory that gets you to the Phantom Menace, that gets you to the Clone Wars, that gets you to the stories that you watched on screen and went, why is there more Jar Jar? Well, this is why. So I always have liked these books, and I'm with you. I wish they were canon, and I wish that, they had a lot more weight these days, because this is when Star Wars fandom was fun before it got all awful.
Yeah.
And so to return to that with new printings makes me very happy.
Canon in my heart, if nothing else. All right. Classic comic fans, if you love EC, you're loving any of the modern EC stuff, this is a must own. It is impossibly unaffordable to collect all of the old Tales from the Crypt these days. But Dark Horse has put together a $150 omnibus style hardcover, collecting all of it. Yes, the complete Tales from the Crypt archive. All those great Al Feldstein, Will Gaines, Graham Ingalls stories, all in one single binding. This is thousands of dollars worth of content in a great hardcover at the same price you're going to get a Marvel omnibus for. So well worth investing in. I love all of the Dark Horse, and there's a number of publishers who are currently reprinting EC stuff, but Dark Horse definitely does a supreme job with these. Then on a more affordable omnibus, get, I believe, 12 issues of Dune, House Harkonnen. This is the second part of the Dune prequel novels in comic adaptation form. This is the deluxe edition slipcase on FOC this Monday. Now, if you don't want the fancy slipcase with the Harkonnen flag, there is the traditional hardcover for just $50, $20 less. You can get that. If you are a fan of Dune at all, I have it tattooed on my flesh. But if you're a fan of Dune at all, the prequel novels that Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert put together are actually great and very informative and expansive on the universe that is Dune. These are greatly adapted in comic form from Boom Studios. The first version in this was actually House Atreides, which also has a slipcase and deluxe hard edition that is still available through Penguin Random House. So if you haven't read these are a great collector's way to get them, whether you get the slipcase or not. I highly recommend reaching out to your store because stores may not always stock these big, expensive editions, but damn, they look good on the bookshelf, and they're a great way to easily slide it out and read it. With a slipcase, you don't even have to worry about your books tipping. Now, EC fans, if you grab that hardcover, you're definitely going to want to grab these single issues. Oni Press is now starting to solicit their books through Penguin Random House, which means your comic shop can still get them, but now they have to choose a different distributor. And the newest of their EC modern horror anthologies is a return to warfare with EC Shell Shock. EC Shell Shock is going to have a great collection of incredible artists and authors in this new war story. We're going to get John Arcudi of BPRD fame, Julio Anta, who did This Land Is Our Land, Michael Conrad, the incredible Eisner Award-winning author on countless things from Magic the Gathering to Double Walker, and then Benito Sereno, who I just love, is really reappearing in the comic scene thanks to Skybound, like after not really seeing him since those early Invincible backups and things like that. Benito is back in full form. Then you get David Lapham, Tom Fowler, Albert Montes, Sean Martinborough. This is going to be a awesome 56-page packed tale with some great covers. Very much reminding me of the first launch of EC at Oni about, was it 2 years ago? So, fun stuff. If you need something a little bit lighter in those last few topics, though, Jeff the Land Shark. It does not get better than Jeff the Land Shark. He is the player you all want to have on your team in Marvel Rivals. He is the best of the West Coast Avengers, and he is the cutest thing at Marvel. We have the second issue of Jeff the Land Shark Superstar number 2. And when we talk about me buying a lot of covers of Amazing Spider-Man 1000, I'm buying every single cover of this book. No questions asked. And I know I'm not alone on that.
I would question your comment that these are the cutest thing at Marvel.
Really? What are you going to outshine me with? Is it Symbi? Symbi? Look, Symbi's cute. Don't think I didn't buy every cover of Symbi on there as well. But
Symbi isn't based off of an old SNL sketch.
I'll give it that, man. We need to have Kelly Thompson on the show at some point so we can talk to her about this.
That's true.
Yeah, maybe we should make that happen.
If only we were trying.
All right. So another great book for all ages, full of cuteness and awesomeness. Tom Taylor's Neverlanders has its sequel finally on FOC. We had Tom Taylor on to talk about Neverlanders in the past. This is one of my son's favorite graphic novels. I've had the opportunity to read this way too many times at bedtime, and I'm so happy to have a new one that I can read so I can let that one rest a bit. But it is still an amazing piece. Neverlanders tells the tales of Neverland. Yes, like Peter Pan's Neverland, in an awesome, epic comic way with great art by John Samaravia and unbelievable writing by everyone's favorite Australian author. And I mean, there's a lot of great Australian comic creators out there, but Tom Taylor, love the man. Ooh, the look Kyle's giving me, I'm curious.
I have no arguments there. Tom Taylor may be the greatest Australian.
Yep, I love it. So Neverlanders, it has a hardcover and a softcover on FOC this week. Please order it up. This is a great one. All right, let's talk something big and scary. Queen in Black. We still are weeks away from Queen in Black actually starting, but we are deep into ordering. So this is why it is important for you, the consumer, the reader, the fan, the collector, to reach out to your local comic shop and let them know what you want. Because as comic shop owners, managers, and ordering operators, we are ordering blind on a huge event from Marvel. And I hate that Marvel does this. I hate that this is part of the Penguin Random House thing. But yes, we are literally talking about books still that have an August on sale date. We have zero sales data for. And I get that it's Al Ewing. He is a constant and great seller. This is a Venom event. It is the sequel to King in Black. And this is a great one shot because with the sequel to King in Black being the Queen in Black and about being Hela as the new god of symbiotes, of course, we have to deal with another god Hela is familiar with, and that is Thor. Thor and our wonderful Stormbreaker, Beta Ray Bill, are the plot points of this one shot with, again, a number of great covers available. But as retailers, as comic shop owners, managers, and ordering people, we are ordering blind. We need your order requests. So if you are a fan, you want to check out this one shot or any of the other Queen in Black one shots or tie-ins, this is important. Let your local comic shop know. Let us know what it is you want, what covers, whether you want this or whether you don't. If you're a Thor fan already reading Mortal Thor, do you want this one shot? Or is this something you're skipping? Or maybe you're not reading the main Thor title, but this is like you're me. I hate to say I'm not reading the main Thor title, but this is something I want to get. Please let your comic shop know.
In an era where you have a sure seller coming from DC, where you have sure sellers in other areas, to force a retailer into ordering blind is the single dumbest thing you can do. It is. And retailers have been screaming and yelling about this for a long time. So maybe when you go into your shop and you place your orders, one, you're helping them not order blind, but two, at the same time, maybe send a message to Marvel, send an email to Penguin Random House, tag them on social media going, hey, my retailer isn't able to order this properly because you've made a business decision.
I mean, maybe I don't really disagree, but I also have to add, I don't know who over at Marvel is there to receive the emails. Like this ship is out of host.
I hear you. And that's the problem, right? Is that there have been corporate decisions made that have forced us into this decision, that forced us into this situation. It's not good for comics. It's not good for story. It's not good for retailers. It's not good for fans. Because guess what? You're going to buy issue 1 of this and you're going to be hooked on it. And because your retailer had to order blind, they're going to under order on everything else because they know they could take that money and throw it behind an absolute title and make money. And on this title, they may have to sit on product. They don't know. So that's why your orders are super important so that they know how much to reasonably buy. But 2, this is where it's time for fans to stand up and support the retailers too, is on things like, this Queen in Black thing. Tell them, hey, my retailer can't do what I need them to do because you're not giving him enough information, you're not giving enough time, and you're forcing our hands. Nobody may read the email. I mean, probably nobody will read the email, but you can at least say you did it.
There it is. All right. Well, one thing I will give Marvel credit for. I know. We're transferring on this to me giving Marvel credit. This has been something I have wanted for 15 plus years. I mean, and only 11 of them could I get it from Marvel. But the Star Wars Legends Menace Revealed Omnibus. I own every single issue that is in this book. And I am so ecstatic to repurchase this again at a $125 hardcover. But this collects perhaps one of my favorite collections of stories. And it shocks me because right there they say Hayden Blackman and Timothy Truman are missing a key author, John Ostrander, as well as the incredible artwork of Jan Darusima and Dan Parsons. Because this Star Wars Omnibus is the big jump between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And it includes all of the Jango Fett open seasons, which is a great origin for Jango Fett. But the big one is Star Wars 7 through 35, which is going to be the origin of Quinlan Vos and Ayla Secura and some of the greatest Star Wars comic storytelling absolutely ever made. I love that at least here we get all of the proper credits that this deserves. This also has some of the great Star Wars Tales issues, the Dark Horse Extra keys, the Star Wars Dark Horse Presents story. But this is, in my opinion, the best collection of Star Wars comics you will ever read, hands down. Hands down. Star Wars Darkness, Star Wars Twilight, this is it. So yeah, I cannot emphasize this enough. I'm actually kind of shocked. I don't believe this one had a different cover. Yeah, this is one of the rare times there is not a direct market cover, I believe, but nevertheless, gotta have it. Then let's stick with Star Wars. Let's move forward to something that isn't Legends, something that is canon. Charles Soule is back with Kylo Ren. I think this is his third time around with a Marvel comic series focusing on Kylo Ren. But The Fall of Kylo Ren is a new one with Will Siney on art that is going to deal with a sequel era Kylo Ren story. And when I said earlier that Cloak of Deception, was an example of where the prose and comics really add and fix the flaws. If you have not been reading the sequel era novels and comics, you're likely one of the people who are complaining about the sequel movies. And I get it. I have a lot of complaints about the sequel movies, and I don't like complaining about Star Wars. I love Star Wars. But the novels and the comics find all of those issues you had. The lack of tail for Captain Phasma. Who exactly is Supreme Leader Snoke, and all of these other things. Why is Kylo Ren such a emotionally whiny character? You're going to find all your answers that make them good stories, the things that make you love the sequel era in these comics and prose novels. And that is where I would go. If you've ever complained about Kylo Ren, you're clearly not reading Charles Soule's awesome comics about him.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves the Irish Jedi, Kylo Ren.
There it is. Love you, Kyle. All right. There we go. Some great covers also on that, as well as you gotta love the 10th anniversary of Rogue One right there. So we talked about Black Cats earlier with Black Cat 13.
Whoa.
Okay.
It's the 10th anniversary of Rogue One?
Yeah.
Okay, pardon me while I turn into dust.
There it is. Yeah, 10 years. Crazy to think of. But let's talk about a bit of curse and bad luck. We talked about Black Cat number 13 earlier. Now let's talk about number 13 and Black Cats also with R.L. Stine. It's the Stuff of Nightmares, the newest one-shot, The Cat in the Coffin. Of course you had to come back for that, Kyle.
Well, I mean, Bob has been a longtime friend. Good guy. And I love his comic work. Like, I grew up on Fear Street and Goosebumps, right? Like, those were the things I was reading when everybody else was reading, like, other stuff. People were reading, the tale of, I don't know, in school. Like, they were reading about the Titanic, and I'm like, yeah, but there's a puppet that talks and wants to eat your soul. And, there's people are reading, about their favorite sports stars. And I'm like, yeah, but have you seen this slime monster? Like, so I love R.L. Stine.
From under the sink.
It's true. I love R.L. Stine. In fact, Matthias, did you notice the text I sent you, what one of my prized possessions is? I'd sent it to you when we were talking about who our guest was going to be on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how much I love R.L. Stine, is that I own a copy of the man's student ID from Ohio State. So, like, for him to be doing a Black Cat story I'm very excited about. For him to be doing more stuff of Nightmares at Boom, who have treated his comic work really, really well over the years. I think maybe sometimes better than some of the work has deserved at times. But very, very cool to see this coming back. And again, there are such incredible covers for this book. I mean, the A cover that Matthias is showing, which is your Francisco Francavilla. But there's an Adam Gorman cover that's really cool. And there are some incentives, like the 1 in 20 by Ito is just incredible too. So there's a lot of fun stuff to be had here. And R.L. Stine is going to creep you out without giving you nightmares, which is the most important thing, even though this is stuff of nightmares.
Yeah. I love the concept on this. It is a, poor man down on his luck whose mother passes away. And what does he do? But steal the stuffed animal out of her coffin and take her cats and drop them off at a, not a kennel. What is the other thing where, like you abandon a shelter? Thank you for that. And as you can imagine with these black cats, whether they are, stuffed or real, it's gonna backfire. You don't mess with cats. So I've learned that. My son's learned that this past weekend. You don't mess with cats.
There is an FOC variant that you can see here. That is the I'm going to say this wrong. Suspiria Villachez cover. That is incredibly creepy. That I probably won't be buying because, again, it triggers several of my phobias. But I think it's worth noting if you're into that level of scary.
I mean, personally, the Glow in the Dark by Murakami is the one that I'm going to have to go after, that like haunting three-headed hat aesthetic, but plus Glow in the Dark. I love Glow in the Dark stuff. Like the vampire, if you guys didn't grab Vampires #1 this past Wednesday, go to your local comic shop, grab that Glow in the Dark cover. It is awesome. And if you want, there's more R.L. Stine Stuff of Nightmare trades that are available for order. In fact, I love that the No Holiday for Murder actually has R.L. Stine on the cover, because that's him right there, right?
That is him.
That is him. I love it. So great one to get. Dark horror with a hint of comedy and fun in it. It's the way R.L. Stine's meant to be read.
Can I tell you an R.L. Stine story that's just kind of hysterical?
I want to hear it.
The height of Fear Street, the height of Goosebumps. R.L. Stine has he's making really good money, but he's still living kind of modestly. He's living within his means. And so he decides to splurge. And do you know what he did?
I'm most curious.
He built a water park in his own backyard.
It's not where I thought this was going at all.
Yeah, like that's his idea of fun, is like going to a water park, but he can't go to a water park because he's R.L. Stine, and like now his kids and like the neighborhood kids are all coming over to his house to go to his water park that was paid for by freaking them out in books.
God, there are so many questions I have about this that this is not the show for it. But man, all right, we need a whole other show where we address this topic, or this is going to be like the next 3 hours after we go off the air. All right. R.L. Stine, Stuff of Nightmares, Cat in the Coffin, Water Park in the Backyard. There it is. All right. Let's go with something where such a topic would be more on topic, and that would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Man, issue 20 is going to be the 300th consecutive issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when you combine all those numbers together. And it's not stopping there. Gene Luen Yang continues on with issue 21 and a new storyline called The City That Never Dies, because something must be happening in issue 300 where death is over. And there's some great covers for this. I love this Nathan Zerdy, I think, just because it's so cute, and it has the Eastman Pizza Company, because, I love me some Kevin Eastman. But a lot of great covers on this. Some we don't even know yet because, Kevin sometimes, runs a little late on him. But don't worry, his pizza is on time and warm.
Avoid the noise.
I'm excited on this. Issue 300, I think, what is that, 2 weeks away?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to think how much my wallet's going to cry that week.
Oh, God, so many covers. I'm sure Comic-Con's going to murder me more with it. But reach out to your local comic shop.
Our friend Brainy has his own exclusive that I spend a bunch of money on. Anyway,
there it is. All right. Vampires fans, we had Fred Van Lente and Luca Pizzari on to talk about this incredible series about a vampire world with piracy. And if you grabbed issue #1 today or this past week, you know that our Queen of the Vampires is now a pirate. It's only going to get better. This is an awesome series. There are amazing covers. One of my staff pointed it out on Tuesday of this week that it's like if ever there was a comic made for Mathias, it was clearly Vampires and Pirates. And I really hate to say I can find no lie in that.
It's true.
If you had a chance, go back on YouTube, watch the interview with Fred Van Lente and Luca on this, because I think that's the one time on this show over like several years that we all dressed up.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like
I was at con and I'm going, this is weird.
Yeah,
this is strange. But no, I mean, if there's right, if ever there was a book that is specifically targeting Mathias, it's Vampirates.
Vampirates. Yeah, I love it.
So publishers, if you're out there watching, more books to target Mathias and less books to target me. Thanks.
There it is. All right, guys. Another King in Black tie-in. Now it's happening in the main series, Venom. Venom 260 is going to deal with some of the fallout of what's happened with Dylan Brock and others as we get into a much deeper and darker tale that, look, Mary Jane's in it, but there's a lot more to this symbiote, and this is where it all starts unfolding. This is the tie-in I am most excited about for this. Another August 12th release, but let your local comic shop know, especially if you are going after Queen in Black, if you want those tie-ins, if you're not regularly on Venom, and I can't imagine you're not regularly on Venom and going after Queen in Black, but if you're not regularly on Venom and you're going after Queen in Black, let your store know if you need this. Some great covers on that as well. Love that we have an open order Merca and Dofo on there. So I think it's time for your favorite part of the show, Kyle. Is it going to be
the
near
part
the
where we talk about the part where we talk about the other shows on the XP? Okay. Oh, this. If we have to, I guess.
Thank you, Eli.
Yeah, you're welcome. Not to be a bother, but it's the 100th anniversary of Winnie the Pooh, guys. An actual bear that lived in the London Zoo. It's a 100th anniversary of the book of Winnie the Pooh. And this is a new printing. This is one of my 2 pros picks of the week. This is a weird week for a reason. But this is A Walk in the Wood, Meditations on Mindfulness with a Bear Named Pooh. This is a kind of a self-help book written by Dr. Joseph Parent and Nancy Parent about being mindful, being present, and doing the things that Pooh is able to do in the stories and able to encourage his friends to do in the stories in your everyday life. This is, in their own words, a new edition of the Beloved Bear's Guide to Bringing More Kindness, Peace, and Mindfulness into your life.
Oh, bother.
Oh, bother. Anyway, you get the Winnie the Pooh kind of tranquility that comes with Winnie the Pooh, unless you watch that weird movie that came out a few years ago where it was like mixed live action and puppets Winnie the Pooh with that guy from the Harry Potter. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That movie was terrifying. But this is a reprint of a book that has been around for a long time, that has helped a lot of people, and it just gives you that sort of serenity that comes from Winnie the Pooh. So if you're into that and you want to study mindfulness, you want to work on meditation, you want to work on some of that self-centering, some of those mental health exercises, this is a great way to do it.
Look, I mean, there's a reason why this genre exists within Disney, Disney for adults. This is Disney for adults. This is something a lot of adults who are Disney fans probably need. And even adults who are not Disney fans, maybe they can put this to use. Like, you know, sometimes we all just need to have that moment where we zen out. And these type of books, sometimes I really find work.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want to go away from mindfulness, calm, and ease,
yeah, let's go the opposite direction.
At night.
Yes, so we turn gruesome at night. This is an interesting thing that we kind of need to talk about. The thing about prose books is that for years, these publishers have lived in the book market world, which is a very different set of rules to the comic book world, or very different set of expectations to the comic book world that we've had for years. So this is a part of a series called Burnt Sparrow. Book 1 in the Burnt Sparrow saga doesn't even come out until August 18th. This book, which is book 2, comes out September 8th. So they come out in pretty quick succession. So there's We're Always Tender with Our Dead, and then there's We Turn Gruesome at Night. The interesting thing, they're both by Eric LaRocca, and the We're Always Tender with Our Dead is I want to get the wording right. So Michael McDowell's Blackwater meets Clive Barker's The Great and Secret Show is the elevator pitch for this. A chilling supernatural tale of transgressive literary horror from the Bram Stoker Award finalist and Splatterpunk Award-winning author of Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. Now, I read Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and they have indeed gotten worse since we last spoke. It is one of those horror books that is basically based on the premise, well, it could be worse. Yes, it could, and it will be because you said that. And in this next book, you have in We're Always Tender with Our Dead, you have a furthering of the horror that's based around a murder that happens on a Christmas morning, and you find yourself thrust into this sci-fi horror mystery set in a really tiny town in New England. So then we come to We Turn Gruesome at Night, which is the second installment of this trilogy, which is 10 years later. And we're finding out the newly profound and devastating, unnerving fallout from what had happened in the first book. Here's the problem. First book's not out yet. I haven't read it. So for the first time in a long time, our prose pick of the week is a book I'm not pre-ordering. Because I've already pre-ordered the book before it. So when that book comes out, I will likely just order this book. And because it won't come out for several weeks still. That's one of the benefits to long lead time on these prose novels, right? They usually, whereas comics are 3 to 6 weeks, these are much longer.
Traditionally 6 months, and that is not the case thanks to this comic publisher using comic FOC styles.
Right. However, you still have more time than you would otherwise have. I would need to order this by Monday, generally, if it was a comic. But I can wait for that first book to come out, read it, and then order this one, and still have plenty of lead time for my shop to get their order in. So it's an interesting difference between prose and comics, and I think that's a fun thing to have to remember.
It's a footnote worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, it is. It's worth noting that sometimes these things can happen. So the pick is We Turn Gruesome at Night, which is a sequel to a book that I'm very much looking forward to. The way I see it in my head is if you've seen that show Best Medicine or Doc Martin, the older show, small New England town meets Murder, She Wrote if Clive Barker had written Murder, She Wrote.
I love that. That is the pitch line right there. If Clive Barker had written Murder, She Wrote. Angela Lansbury, she would be a whole other thing there.
Angela Lansbury meets Pinhead.
All right. Well, should we go on to the tales of other actors?
Well, there's another book that's actually right next to this on PRH that I want to mention just quickly, and I didn't bring it up before. But it's one of the what's the word I'm looking for? Don't worry about pulling it up, Mathias. I'm just going to talk about it quickly. It is one of the Who HQ graphic novels, Who Circled the World in 72 Days, Nellie Bly. Nellie Bly is a very important figure in American journalism and in feminism and all of that. So if you have a young person in your life, this is a great way to introduce them to Nellie Bly. You may know her as a woman who had herself committed to a mental institution for 72 days, for 2 weeks, to write about the conditions that we treated the mentally ill with back in the 1800s. And she bested Jules Verne's 80 Days by 8 days traveling the world. So, she did a lot of stuff and wrote about it, and she was one of the first prolific female journalists. So, worth noting.
There it is. I like it. All right. Well, another one where we have to talk about issue number 2 to make sure it's on everyone's attention. If you didn't already grab issue number 1 of Nathan Fillion, yes, that Nathan Fillion's Witness Point. Issue number 2 is on FOC this Monday. Nathan Fillion, Heath Corson, and the incredible artwork of Sue Lee. Issue number 1 is on stands now, hopefully not sold out at your local comic shop, and you can get your orders in for issue number 2 now. Some other ones that are just quick and easy I got to talk up. Wolverine 25. He has no healing factor. He has no claws. They're broken. And he has a bigger threat than ever. Wolverine 25 is on FOC this week with a great homage to Wolverine 50, double that number, by Jock, as well as some other great covers worth paying attention to. And then, talking about awesome covers, it doesn't get more 80s than Magic in the 80s. Alexander Lozano did this unbelievable 80s Magic cover right there. Personally, I don't know how that spelling works on that amp that she's sitting on, but one of the many great covers in this prelude to DNX. Yes, this is the issue that's going to lead into the big miniseries event for X-Men. DNX starts here, prelude to DNX in X-Men 35. Some great covers available. But I think it's time. Let's pop on over to Lunar Distribution and see what DC Image and the others are doing over there. So I want to remind everyone, lunardistribution.com, scroll on down to upcoming FOC, make sure you're on the right date, and you can see all the awesome and absolutely amazing books like Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute Superman, and others that are on FOC this week. Big one I got to say is we're coming up on the finals. We're wrapping up the quarterfinals. We're coming up on the finals of the 2026 World Cup. So if you are not reading some great books like Blue Lock or Aoashi in their 3-in-1 editions has volume 2 on FOC. It'll be in stores after the World Cup ends and you're in that need for more football fun. So August 26th, and you can grab volume 1 of the 3-in-1 editions now. But that is an exciting one that we're getting more manga at Lunar, as now Viz and Yen also are going to be producing them distributing them through Lunar. And then Arcane fans, if you guys need a journal, there's some great themed ones with both Jinx and Vi having some covers. Assorted Crises Events has its 2nd volume finally on FOC. So if you are having trouble getting this constantly sold out multiple times series, the Eisner-nominated masterpiece by Dennis Camp and Eric Zawadzki, there are your volume 2 trades. There's a direct market edition as well. If you're curious what this is, I hate that these things are public-facing, but I want to inform it so the public understands. If stores order 20 copies of the volume 2 trade, there are signed book plates. You're going to have to talk to your store to see if they're ordering that, because that's a lot of trade paperbacks. Not every store is going to be able to qualify for it, but they might have an opportunity of getting you a signed book plate if they are. So reach out to your local comic shop, find out if that is an option. All right. Next up, man, look at these 2 incredible covers by Talaski and Eom on Tate Bromble's masterpiece that is Batgirl. Just stunning covers. I had to show those off. All right, Batman 11 gave us a cameo, but Batman number 12, Verity Pennyworth, is the new butler to the Wayne family. Yes, Batman has his Alfred replacement, and it is the genetically next in line of the Pennyworth family. Some unbelievable covers. We're talking about a lot of covers. I'm going to be buying every cover on this book. I am so excited. Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez have just been knocking it out of the park with this volume of Batman. Every issue has been a masterpiece, and I cannot wait to be fully introduced to this newest Pennyworth. Like, I don't know about you, Kyle. I mean, I was heartbroken when Alfred died in front of Damian during Tom King's run. It is the one thing I will hold angrily against Tom King. And I'm very excited to see how Matt Fraction brings us a new Pennyworth.
Take Damien deserved the trauma.
I won't deny that. Look, he clearly broke the rules there, but
Right. I mean, Damien deserved what he got there, but Alfred did not. And so the introduction of Verity is a very interesting take from Matt Fraction. What I will say about this is you have the Jorge Jimenez A cover, which is gorgeous. You have the Dustin Wen B cover, which is gorgeous. They are doing a really good job of making you want to buy into Verity without knowing a lot of their story. And I'm excited to dive into the story because the people who are writing it are people I trust implicitly with telling me the story of a new butler.
I just for the first time in this moment caught Verity ironing the back cape there on this cover, and now this is my new favorite cover.
I wonder if it's going to affect his ability to skulk. It would be really funny if like the creases created like glare, like off the lights, and it was like letting people know that he was skulking. So he's got to be like, you can't press my cape.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you got to watch the steam setting on there. That's the real problem. All right, guys. Ben 10. If you have somehow not been reading this masterpiece by Joe Casey, it is going back to print with a fourth printing for number 1 and a third printing for number 2. We just had new printings that dropped this week. I'm hearing they're sold out everywhere. So new printings once again. I really think number 3 needs new printing already, but let's talk about number 4 where things get changed up. That's not Joe Casey writing it. It's his man of action, compatriot, and friend, Steven Siegel, taking over Ben 10 and bringing us to a darker story with the new storyline. Steven Siegel is one of my favorite authors, going back to American Virgin, not to mention Wildcats and others. I am so hyped for this because Joe Casey and Steven are both brilliant writers, but this has me just so creeped out on covers alone and this concept. I'm in. Some great covers.
Ben 10 has been a really, really good. I mean, and listen, we're here. The whole idea of this show is that any shop can put this show on and promote books that they're going to want and, you know, that you're going to want. And that, you know, we try to be as agnostic as possible. But listen, if you're still looking for first prints of Ben 10, maybe like you're watching a channel called the EXP that has a website called the EXP Live that, you know, may or may not still have first prints of their exclusives of 1, 2, and then we announced 3 this week. That it looks like this, and you know maybe or not. There's this thing coming in the future. So like head over to the EXP Live and like you know maybe first prints of stuff.
Well, and the big thing I want to say, because our goal is never to draw sales away from your local comic shop. We want you to reach out to your local comic shop to order books. We want that, but I want to point out that this wonderful producer who produces many of the shows on this channel is supported, along with the other producers and the channel itself, by the sales of things like that exclusive. So reach out to your local comic shop, get your basic covers, get your ratio variants, get all your amazing stuff from them. And then if you want to support the EXP and this wonderful man, make sure you go to the EXP store and buy one of our exclusives.
Always here on the EXP, it has been our goal to support the local comic shop. When we do things like this, it's if you have extra money, if you have the ability to go a little extra and help us out, that's what we want. But first of all, we want you to go to your local comic shop and buy the incredible covers and buy the incredible things that your local comic shop can offer, including like that D cover by Sebastian Perez that like I may or may not have fought for it to be one of our exclusives. Like there are really cool covers on this book that you can get from your local comic shop that are different than our exclusives. So if you have extra money and want to support us, great. But if not, make sure you go to your local comic shop and support them.
Yeah. Oh man. Like Too many covers I want on this, but that It homage, oof, too much. It's good. All right. Moving forward, a lot of great continuing series going on FOC this week, but a huge one is Iman Vellani's new series and first solo written comic. She's done some incredible Miss Marvel's comics along with Sabir, but this is her first solo written one, and it is very much her tale. Chachu tells about a 19-year-old Pakistani Canadian girl, much like Iman actually is, entering Hollywood, but not in the modern era through Marvel films, but in the 1970s, where she will go to meet her uncle, who is a private detective and the husband of a famed Hollywood starette. Unfortunately, when our young protagonist's aunt is kidnapped again, her and her uncle must go on an adventure across America to find her. I'm in.
Yeah, no, for sure. But something I want to point out to people, if you go to lunardistribution.com, we always show you the FOC bit, but we talk about it on occasion. Right above it on lunardistribution.com is a section called previews. And in previews, there is a 3-page preview for Chachu. So if you wanted to go to lunardistribution.com and check it out and see what the interiors look like, give it a little bit of a read. It's just 3 pages. You're not going to get a whole lot of spoilers. You're not going to get really anything, but it gives you a taste. And I think that's an important ability that Lunar gives to the customer, especially when they're taking a chance on something new like Chachu from a writer that maybe they're not super familiar with. It wasn't until Mathias reminded me just now of who this writer is that I remembered who this writer was. So
I should emphasize, Iman is Miss Marvel. Kamala Khan. Right. If you've watched the Marvel's film or the Miss Marvel TV series on Disney Plus, that is Iman Vellani. She is not only a brilliant young actress, but she is a hardcore comic fan. She was a comic customer at a comic shop up in Canada, just like many of you guys, long before she was an actress and Marvel MCU star. And she's a comic writer. This is her first solo series. I'm hyped. Sorry, Kyle.
No, but like I said, it gives you a little bit of, when you're a little unsure, this gives you a chance to, maybe take a little sample. So it's important to check that preview section too.
Yeah. I mean, that was my first time seeing the interiors when I clicked on that preview, and Mariana Ignazi did an amazing job with beautiful colors by Jordi Belair. Mariana did some exquisite corpses work. This is obviously part of the Tiny Onion family of James Tynion IV's awesome stuff done over at Image. So this is good. I'm hyped on this 5-issue miniseries. I like it. I'm in. All right. Continuing on, a lot of great books, some beautiful, beautiful covers. Second printings on Dead Acres. So if you missed out on those high ratio John Wayshacks on the first printing, they're back as ratios on the second printing, and an open order foil, because I wanted that Wayshack cover. You can just order it outright from Vault. Now, am I happy that Vault did that because it kind of devalues the ratios? Not necessarily, but as the art collector and fan, I'm happy I can get it. So Vault, they're always there to make me kind of go, well, this is awesome and this is less so. We'll talk more about that momentarily. But the big one also, Death Vigil. I have been waiting a decade plus for more Death Vigil. If you've never read Death Vigil, please go to your local comic shop, grab the trade paperback, read it. Just go to topcow.com and read the first issue for free. You will be obsessed and want it. This is such a brilliant series, such an amazing comic. Like, I have read the single issues, I've reread the trade so many times. I have been waiting for this. I am so honored we had Stepan Sage. I've been saying his name wrong for 20 years to his face. We've discovered today. But I've been such a fan of this for ages. I'm so glad he's bringing this back. I hope all of you go check this out and read it, because I cannot put my seal of approval and emphasis that this is worth your time enough. Go to your local comic shop, order Death Vigil. Defiant, a masterpiece by the wonderful Sebastian Jones and Rob Edwards. Trade paperback and hardcover on FOC. If you haven't been getting the single issues, well worth it. Reprints of Detective Comics 27, the first appearance of Batman. Dio's hardcover by All-Star Team, Steve Niles and Scott Hampton. Talk about two people paired together. Oh, Dio's Holy Diver.
Yeah, this is the hardcover adaptation. Steve Niles took the record and wrote the story that the record Holy Diver tells. And this is the hardcover adaptation of that story. So if you go listen to the whole Holy Diver record and then you read this, you're hearing essentially the mythos behind what was one of the coolest concept and biggest selling concept records of all time. We didn't know it at the time that's what it was, but that's what it was. Like I say, like I was around when Dio put out the record. Anyway, but that's what it wound up being. So this is the mythos around, again, one of the biggest, most important metal albums ever created.
Yeah. And while I love the iconic cover to the album, man, this Bill Sienkiewicz piece, oof, awesome. All right. If you missed Do a Powerbomb, black and white, the reprints of Do a Powerbomb in their original inky form, there's a second printing, which I guess would arguably be, what, a fourth or fifth printing in the overall of Do a Powerbomb #1, but great tale. I can honestly say this was flying off the shelf at my shop, and I'm sure my shop wasn't alone on that. So hopefully you guys can grab a copy. Then so many great new things. Make sure you're taking a look at all of them. Ghost Machine giving us a guidebook to all of the craziness that is Hyde Street, as we definitely need it, with hints, obviously, that there is a film in the universe on the way. G.I. Joe getting some new printings. By the way, did you grab G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero this week? Talk about a last page twist. If you are a fan of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, you need to rush to the store if you didn't already grab G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero this past week. Big reveal, first appearance in the G.I. Joe universe with more news to come. I should have shown it when Sage was on earlier, but he does a cover on the upcoming G.I. Joe Tomb Raider series that will be starting up soon. So that's going to be awesome. All sorts of fun on FOC this week. Big one, I got to say, Lost Fantasy continuing on. More fun from Kurt Pierce, Franklin Jonas, Timmy Haig, all their incredible artists. Some great covers on there. Then a bit of manhwa. Lovers of the Empire is an interesting tale that takes place in the early 20th century of South Korea, which I think at the time, this could be my ignorance towards Korean history, was just Korea. I don't think we had started that yet. Or it split. I really don't know. I mean, this is going to be a horrible ignorance somebody's going to call me out on. But it tells the tale of a Western-influenced young Korean woman who goes to the capital city with her country bumpkin bodyguard. And an unlikely connection of romance begins. Beautiful looking art by Yudori. I am very intrigued by this. So this is definitely going to be one of those ones that I have to throw on my FOC last minute. And I'm excited to give a read come August.
There's a book right there in the middle of the screen that I want to mention really quickly. Cooking with Wolverine.
Oh, good. I was going to, if you weren't.
Yeah, this is not just a shish kebab cookbook, even though it should be.
You know, I didn't catch the shish kebab part until now, but you're right. That's very fitting. But when I think of things Wolverine is good at, cooking wouldn't have been one. Cooking and swimming.
Right, but skewering things is. And this has recipes that aren't food on skewers. I don't get it. Someone explain it to me. I'm buying the book.
The part that intrigues me the most, it is written by Logan himself. James Asmuth, a famous Wolverine author, is going to write this in Logan's voice. So that kind of sells me on it more than anything else. But yeah, James Howlett, aka Logan, aka Wolverine, from Canada to Japan. They said all of the right things. I mean, I hate to say, sometimes these like geek themed cookbooks are just cookbooks. They're not bad cookbooks. I've purchased a lot of these cookbooks.
They are
things. But I've had some really impressive moments making some of the recipes that have been in these cookbooks, but they're often just cookbooks, and they have some traditional cookbook, beautiful photos of amazing food that I'm never going to be able to replicate that way. But rarely does the geek part truly come out. This is one where the geek part comes out when Logan himself is writing it, and then James Asmus, who is a great comic author, doing it. I'm in.
Yep. Nope. It should have just been shish kebabs with Wolverine.
I'm just hoping one of the recipes isn't him constantly cutting his butt off and frying it, like that infamous story of him living on an iceberg for, like 6 months. But we'll see.
I was hoping I wouldn't have to think about that, Mathias. Thank you.
You're welcome. New one from SourcePoint Press, My Dearest, trade paperback about a college girl with a stalker issue. This has a very manga-esque vibe. I am hoping I can get a chance to get an advanced read on this before I have to finalize orders, but I do want to put it on people's radar. Natalie Huff doing it.
This is her first published comic.
Really?
Yes. Debut comic by writer artist Natalie Huff. American manga style horror graphic novel, for sure.
Yeah. A lot of really good looking items on this. Red Sonja continuing on along with a crossover that we'll be talking about momentarily with Vampirella. But a lot of great continuing series. You guys know many of these things. She Spawn, Savage Dragon, etc. You guys know your orders on it, but always let your local comic shop know. If you haven't been reading Supergirl Survive, I highly recommend going to your comic shop and tracking down the first 2 issues, because as you see in issue number 3, she joins the Lantern Corps, but not the Green Lantern Corps, the Blue Lantern Corps, giving hope even to her beloved young cousin, Kal-El, as she revives the home planet that they lost of Krypton. However, as Hal Jordan learned when he tried to revive Coast City with the Green Ring, is it worth living a lie to use the ring to form a life that you can no longer hold on to? Well, that in itself is a tale worth telling, but the part that has me intrigued is this interdimensional imp whose name I would struggle to say backwards that could be appearing in this. Ethan Parker and Griffin Sheridan kicking butt with this amazing Elseworlds tale. I'm all in. I am all in for Supergirl Survive. The first 2 issues have been phenomenal. I cannot wait for issue 3.
I was looking at it on my screen, and then I looked at it on your shared screen, and it looked very different. Because I'm like, this looks more like the teal Lantern Corps, which is a little bit green, a little bit blue, which could make this very interesting. But it looks way different on your screen than mine, so I'm just going to assume the color ratio is wrong on my screen.
All right. So quickly wrapping things up, I got to show off Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett, Tank Girl. They're not back together. This isn't a new story. It is a classic tale from 1990, 36 years ago. From Deadline magazine. All of those parts connected in one single binding. I love Tank Girl. This is always fun. I love Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett stuff. So I'm going to be buying this because I don't know that I've ever read the Deadline magazine story. I might have because I was a big enough Tank Girl fan back in the day, but this will definitely be something worth owning and rereading, assuming I ever read it to begin with. So I am hyped on this. I know there's a lot of Tank Girl fans out there who will likely enjoy it. That is so crazy. 35th anniversary of this comic.
Yeah, we were just talking about the way that they released Tank Girl originally in the magazine last night on one of our shows, and to have that come out to be on FOC this week is kind of serendipitous. But I always wish every time we get a reprint of Tank Girl or we get new Tank Girl that they would get back together and tell more of those original stories that are that way. And alas, it'll never happen, and I will be sad forever.
Yeah. But there's our moment for a bit. Huge one for me. I'm a huge Go Nagai fan. Go Nagai, the incredible author of Mazinger Z. Many of you will likely might be familiar with Mazinger Z. Less of you might be familiar with the incredible sequel / spinoff UFO robot Grendizer. It looks like Grendizer.
I always called it Grendizer, but that I know that's wrong.
Grandizer. UF Robot Grandizer is getting a new miniseries that follows up that Go Nagai classic. Xavier Dorison is bringing it over to Titan based off the works of Go Nagai. I mean, this looks beautiful. Look at these incredible covers by Derek Chu, Dennis Bajram. I mean, there's even a blueprint of Grandizer. So if you love those giant mechs, this is going to be it. Maybe, hopefully, this will bring the Mazinger franchise to a new generation who will want to go back and read those brilliant Go Nagai manga. But one way or another, I think I'm in on this, and I'm hoping I won't be alone. I mean, somewhere I have like a pile of Mazinger Z toys buried away in my attic. As I mentioned, Vampirella and Red Sonja not teaming up, but against each other. It's Vampirella versus Red Sonja in the new Red City miniseries by oh my god, no, Chuck Brown is the author of what was Sanford Green? Bitterroot. Yes, Bitterroot's Chuck Brown. Thank you, Kyle. This is why we keep Kyle around. He's smarter than me. Chuck Brown, the multi-Ringo and Eisner award-winning author, bringing our two femme fatales, the Scarlet Sage, the Warrior in Red, along with our Draculon Beauty and Vampire Alien. New miniseries. I'm all in. I love these two.
I'm just gonna say it. They're leaning real heavy into the cosplay covers for this, and I get why. But on the covers that aren't cosplay, there's not nearly enough red for a book called Red City.
I am not gonna lie. You're right that the red does not show. I mean, the Savage She Devil, and just where's the red?
Yeah, not enough red. And then again, for me, it's too much cosplay covers. These are two beautiful characters that have been rendered beautifully in art for decades. To just have a bunch of cosplay covers and two non-cosplay covers from a company that publishes more covers than any other company on the face of the planet. No. 3 non-cosplay. Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just feels like an imbalance to me.
I mean, I do like the cosplay covers. I like the inclusion of these fans and their incredible photos of their amazing work in there. But yes, I would love more art. I mean, I like having 1 or 2 cosplay covers. I would like the majority to be artwork because that's what I love with my sequential art. All right. White Sky returns with issue number 5 after a gap in FOCs, and Youngblood goes to a 3rd printing with more homages. Yes, we have Dua Powerbomb, Assorted Crises, Evangeline, other characters from Rob Liefeld, and yes, a full-on super massive cover with Radiant Black, Dead Lucky, Rogue Sun, and more. But when we're talking covers, we got to get to our big top 10, right?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Top 10, and we're going to start it off with the honorable mention. As I said, my son loves Neverlanders. I love Neverlanders. We all love Tom Taylor. So Tom Taylor and John Samaravia back with Neverlanders Volume 2, Get Lost. Got to get that book. It's amazing. Hardcover or softcover. Then the cover that just stole my heart, DC X Sonic Metal Legion number 4. Look at that Min Ho Kim cover. It is beyond belief cute and beautiful. It definitely had to get into the top 10. This is just cuteness. And I mean, this book has been selling like nobody's business to everyone and everything. Number 9, it's an homage to that classic Wolverine cover by Frank Miller. Look at it. Black Cat number 13, In-Hyuk Lee, that Come Hither Violence. In number 8, we have X-Men 35, the Marvel Tokon. Now, with Marvel Rivals, Magic is blowing up and is one of the most played characters. Everyone loves Magic. And I mean, look, everyone's loved Magic for a while. Marvel Rivals only amped that up. I imagine Marvel Tokon's going to do the same. So with Marvel Tokon having a new game coming out around the time of this cover, I feel you're going to see a lot of the new fans coming out to grab this. This is going to be great. And then on top of that, it's a prelude to DNX. Number 7, wonderful Lost Fantasy cover. Lost Fantasy, as well as all of Kurt Pierre's incredible comics, known for having great homages to various comics, video games, novels, movies, etc. This one to one of the most heartfelt video game ones that any Square Enix or Disney fan is familiar with, Kingdom Hearts. Look at that beautiful Kingdom Hearts reference right there by Luca Casalanguida. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right, because otherwise I'm going to get yelled at. But this is a beautiful cover that I think people are going to come out of the woodwork for, and hopefully even more people will discover the fun that is Lost Fantasy because of this cover.
Can confirm Casalanguida.
Okay. The Fall of Kylo Ren. Again, even if you're not a huge sequel fan, this is the type of stuff that will make it. Charles Soule doing a great job with these unbelievable books. I am glad to have Charles Soule back on more Star Wars, and this is it for me. And of course, Phil Noto is always the masterpiece when it comes to doing covers on Star Wars. Then Dustin Nguyen, giving the creep factor to a whole new level. Look, even the It homage doesn't touch this just anti-clown nightmare this is going to give me. Dustin doing an amazing job. And then on top of that, Steven Seagal taking over for a story arc on Ben 10. It's got me hooked. Then Iman doing Chachu number 1. I am excited about this. I think this is going to be good. I think that Iman has not only an incredible future in film and television via Hollywood, she has an incredible future in comics, as we've already seen from her co-written Miss Marvel tales, and now this Hollywood of the 70s era comic from Image. She is not only a sweetheart in person. I have been to signings with her and listened to her on panels and talks. She is a brilliant writer, a brilliant actress. Everything about this just has me in. And then seeing that beautiful preview artwork we got to share on screen by Mariana Ignacy, the book is just going to be awesome. Let's get to the big top 3. It's the cover that creeps out both me and Kyle. How is it in the top 10? Well, because it's a masterpiece between Frank Miller and Peach Momoko, who not only did this cover, they're doing an interior story together. This is Nightmare Fuel. I have multiple pieces of Nightmare Fuel in the top 10 for me, and yet in the same, it deserves its spot at number 3. It is Amazing Spider-Man 1000. Big Marvel number, well earned, and a haunting pair of two talented creators. Please get it off screen, Kyle. Let's go to number 2. Death Vigil. I am so hyped on this. Sozo Micah doing this beautiful cover with Bernie, our beloved Reaper that you can see, Steven Steppen. I'm not going to get his name right. Sage's awesome piece right here on the old trade paperback, but I am excited for this. Sozo Micah always kicking butt on covers. Please, everyone, there's no reason. I'm telling you, after this show, go to topcow.com, read the first issue of the original series for free. You will be hooked. You'll go to your local comic shop, get the Volume 1 trade, the new 2025 edition if you need to, and then get a pre-order in for Death Vigil number 1. And we end it with the number 1 spot being Batman number 12. Everyone's going to want this first appearance of the new butler of Bruce Wayne. Yes, Verity Pennyworth. There's a lot of Pennyworth lore and legends throughout Batman history, from Batgirl being his daughter in the 1990s films to, Alfred having slept with one of the war heroes of the old DC War comics. I believe actually pre-DC, I think it was a Charlton War comic, actually, to various nieces, nephews, children, Elseworld tales. I love the lore of Alfred Pennyworth. I cannot wait for Matt Fraction's take. I mean, what have you on that, Kyle?
Oh no, absolutely. I'll be honest. I wouldn't care if it wasn't Matt Fraction writing it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those is that because it's Matt, I'm very excited to see what this becomes.
Absolutely. But with that all said, those are our top 10. Please reach out to your local comic shop. Get your orders in. The sooner, the better. So it's guaranteed waiting for you when they release. Meanwhile, Kyle, what do we have on the EXP after this?
Well, so tonight at 7, we have Christmas in July on Nick's Original Art Experience, including pieces that are going to start for like $7. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but we're going to find out. And then Nancy will be here tonight doing what I like to call Nancy things, which is her usual vintage and request show that she does. And then this Saturday night, tomorrow night, Miss Jen will be here with, again, what I continue to say is one of the longest running continuous comic live sales we've had, in this world. So make sure you check that out. And then next week, we have a full slate of shows for you, and maybe even the start of something new.
I love it. I love it. All right. So stay tuned. Follow EXP on social medias, and we will be back next Friday with yet another amazing guest and more comics on FOC. But as always, reach out to your local comic shop, get those orders in ASAP, and pick up some awesome comics because let's face it, when you're supporting a small business, it's not an addiction. It's an awesomeness. We'll be back next week. Thank you for watching.